All right, we're live. Welcome back to another episode of the Virtual Millionaire Show. I have with me today Phillip Vincent. Phillip, how you doing today, man?
Doing great, man. Thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely. Well, excited to have you because after doing a little bit of research, I was very intrigued about the niche that you specialize in, and it's to me, it's like, why doesn't everybody do this, right? But it's just one of those aha moments, and so I'm excited to share your story with the audience. So for people who don't know who you are, man, tell me about you, how you got into real estate, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, I'm Phillip Vincent. I've been in this business for 25 years, and I will not bore you guys with that story other than the fact that I kind of did this business backwards. When I was 20 years old, I built my first house. I started off in new construction, and I worked my way back to being a wholesaler.
That is
And the reason
backwards.
why I think, Michael, the older you get, the more you put up with bullshit less. And so I didn't like all the other types of real estate. I've tried it all. I didn't like the timelines and dealing with contractors, all these things. I really love to be belly to belly with the seller. And I've been on this lifelong mission of finding where are the best leads. Like all my real estate buddies, all we talk about is where are the leads, where are the best leads coming from? And that's what kind of put me on my journey to where I am today.
Okay, very cool. And that is crazy to think that you started with development, because I feel like my progression, I started off with wholesaling, then flipping, then buy and holds, and then I feel like development is that pinnacle, right? The next step. And
Yeah.
so what made you decide to start off in development out of all things? How did
My
you get into
cousins
that?
did it. My dad did it. And so it was around me. So as a 20-year-old, who was going to tell me that I couldn't do it?
Good
A
point.
little bravado,
Sounds like a
right?
typical entrepreneur to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had people I could rely on that were in the family that would give me the advice.
Right. So you had the connection. So what happened then? Why did you pivot? What was going on with development that you didn't love?
Mainly the timelines. In this world of wholesaling, you can make 15, 20,000, you can do it in 3 weeks. Where when you build a new house, you got to procure the land, you got to sometimes get it zoned the correct way. You have to get it split up. You have to get the neighbor's approval. Oh, shoot me now! Getting the neighbor's approval on anything is a pain in the butt. The HOA approval. You have to deal with municipalities. You have to deal with inspections. You have to deal with inspectors, who, by the way, sometimes go off a feel, not what is written. And anytime you have that, I gotta just say no more. I can't be part of that. I'm 45 years old. I think when I was about 42, I realized I only liked building new houses so I could pick out the colors, Michael, to pick out the damn colors. And there's got to be a better way to scratch that itch of design besides doing this 18-month journey to build new. And so I just really got honest with myself about that's not what I like to do. Life is so damn short. By the way, guys, I'm in senior living, right? I buy houses for people moving into senior living. Being in senior living has taught me two things. Don't get old, and if you do, be rich. And I say that kind of tongue in cheek a little bit, but the point is that our time is the most valuable thing we have.
Right.
I feel so many investors, we're always looking for that next shiny object. You got to figure out what you like to do, what's fulfilling for you. And we're gonna talk about fulfillment today. I don't know much investors that use that F word the way I do. It's fulfilling to help the adult children who are moving their parents into senior living. Buying people's forever home, I take great pride, and I get fulfillment in helping those families during a stressful time.
It's a very stressful time for people. And I was just telling you before we got on that right before this interview, we had a family, a son of a mother who was moving into senior living, who had called us, and it was that exact situation. It was, hey, we're moving my mom into this senior living facility. We need to liquidate the home. And it dawned on me. I'm like, man, this is exactly what you do. And so can you talk about that with Mom's House? Like, when I first saw this, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
First of all, Mom's House, but it makes total sense now that I know what you do. But can you tell people a little bit about Mom's House? So obviously, maybe any more in depth than which we've already talked about.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So lead aggregation, we're a lead aggregation company. We deal in senior living. If I could give all the listeners an analogy that I finally came up with that I like, senior living is kind of like a car dealership that doesn't buy the car trade-in. They sell cars, but they don't buy the trade-in. So what would happen to the car dealership industry if they stopped buying the trades today? Would people still buy new cars? They would, but would it slow the process down tremendously because they have that other car they have to get rid of? And in senior living, they sell housing. They'll tell you they sell care, and they do. The business that the business they're in is super hard, and I love them. It's a very hard job, to take care of humans at the end of life, right? This is a hard business, but they're in the care business, but really they're selling them new housing to replace their old housing. What's going on with their old housing? It's the house that they've lived in for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, Michael. They've lived in these houses for multiple decades. It's their forever home. The adult children have already bought their McMansions. They're not waiting around to inherit mom's house. You said it today. A son called you today because he's moving his mom into senior living. Why does he need the money now? Is because mom probably has a pension in that $2,000 to $3,000 range, and the cost of care on average in the United States is $6,000 a month. So if we could all think right now, if you got a call today that your mother had to move into senior living today, does she have $6,000 a month to write that check out of her checking?
Most of the people would probably say no. I mean,
95% don't, Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so
they have to start selling assets, right? That's why that son called you. And why are they selling mom's house? It's to unlock that equity for care. They're trading that equity out of mom's house. They need to sell it. They don't want to do the thing that the real estate agent. I'll give you an example of that son that called you today. He's being pulled in 4 directions, literally 4 directions. And when the real estate agent shows up, it's the 5th rope. And so one way he's being pulled by his mother, who's probably like, son, can you just take me back home? And he's like, sorry, mom, I can't. You know, the doctor said you have to live here. The community themselves has you fill out a ton of paperwork. You have to prove to them, Michael, how you're going to pay $6,000 a month on average. You got to prove to them how you're going to pay. And if you show them a checking account that has $4,000 in it, they're going to be like, you can't live here. Right. That's real pressure, right? So selling assets or selling the house is real. The third reason is that son you talk to probably has a brother and sister that live somewhere in the country that thinks every decision that son is making is wrong. Right. Like, you're just blowing this up. Mom's not that bad. The one we normally call it daughter Judy. In this case, it's a son. And then that son also has a full-time job still, is married, probably has kids. He wants to go back to his normal life as soon as possible. He wants to give mom his best care he can, but he needs to go back to his normal life. And so those 4 people, those 4 things are literally pulling on him in 4 different directions. When the real estate agent shows up and says, clean this place out, this as is home, clean this place up. And then what's real estate agents say? They say, please do this list of updates so we can get top dollar for it. Because who doesn't want top dollar? Right. But the journey of getting to top dollar with this son, the last thing that son wants to do is start a rehab project on mom's house.
And that's one of the first things he said is I'm trying to line up these contractors already. I've talked to 5 different people, and you could just tell he was sick of it. Like he didn't want to deal with it. And so as an investor, your company comes in, you are the go-between to basically make that a seamless process. So what does your service provide then for that seller?
Buying the house is just one of the things that we provide. You better believe the family stuff is harder to deal with than the actual house. Yeah. It's their memories, it's their life, it's their identity, it's their stuff. And you have to get really good at the stuff business to be good at buying real estate. I'm not saying that anyone listening right now should get in the stuff business. I know American Pickers makes it look fun. I'm not talking about getting in the stuff business. In fact, I'm saying please don't. But you have to have people from treasures down to trash that can help you with every facet of what those people have. If the family thinks it's worth 0, great. It's easy to move on. If the family thinks it's worth $1 million, you can still help that person. You have to get them in touch with the people that actually buy the stuff that they have. Is that like an estate company that would go through and help with that? Yeah, definitely. In St. Louis, that's my market here locally. I just want to give everybody a stat. The 99% of all estate sales in St. Louis generate between $3,000 and $5,000 in revenue. So that's how much all of mom and dad's stuff sold for. Between $3,000 and $5,000. The cost to put that sale on, Michael, is between $3,000 and $5,000. Wow. So they don't even realize that they're going to net zero until after it's over. Do you help with that expense as part of, if you were able to buy their house, do you help with that expense? Definitely. I try to go ahead and just write them a check for it right there. In our real estate world, guys, if you can write a check for $3,000, it's just another line item. That's if you're buying deals so tight that you can't absorb $3,000, you're not buying them right anyway. And so to be a one-stop shop for that son, I wonder, I don't know if you know the details of that son that called you today, but if he lives out of town and he's called 5 contractors to give him bids, do you think the contractor is going to give the out-of-town guy a good deal? Or do you think he's going to try to – no, he's going to knock his head off because that's the one transaction he's going to get from that family. He's not going to get repeated business. I use a tool. Everybody should write this down unless you're driving. Just memorize it. It's called the cost versus value guide. And you guys can Google that right now, the cost versus value guide. They've been chronicling for the past 22 years the cost to do rehab items in our country. So go to your local metropolitan area, Michael, go to your own area and pull up your own city and look at what it costs to do the rehab on average, to do a new bathroom, to do a new deck, to do a new driveway. All those things are there, and you're going to be blown away with what you see. I won't bury the lead. If you're looking it up right now, I'll let you tell me what you see there.
Yeah, well, I have to dig into it a little bit more, but it looks like it's probably going to be significantly greater than what everyone thinks, right? Like from our perspective, if we have a general contractor who does volume for a house business, they're going to cut us a way better deal. The seller who's reaching out to these people, they're going to get retail price. And that's how the contractors make money, but it's not beneficial for the seller because they're going to have to pay an arm and a leg to get probably the difference of what they would have just sold for you for cash back. Right?
Oh my God, Michael. So why would they do the rehab if they're going to net the same amount and do it in 3 weeks versus 6 months?
2 weeks versus 6 months. Is that what you said?
Well, yeah, 2 or 3 weeks. I can close in 2 or 3 weeks, right? Because
Right.
here's why. You can't start rehabbing that house until it's cleaned out. It takes a good 60 to 90 days to do a estate sale, to get everything chronicled and have all the family come in. And remember, they take all the heirlooms, right? Now you're just selling stuff after that. And then so you have to get that thing cleaned out before you start the rehab. And how many times do rehabs take more than 3 months? All the time. So when I'm saying 6 months, I'm being kind there. I could say easily, 6 months to a year it takes from start to finish. If I
would agree
that they'll net the same amount without any of the work, no person wants to do the rehab way.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. I think a lot of people is if you can just communicate that value that you provide, that you're going to deliver, these people typically make this decision fast. They need the money next month, not in 6 months. So not only is it the time it takes to remodel it, but it's the brain damage that they have to experience through managing contractors, dealing with people who are maybe taking advantage of it, whatever the case may be, right? So there's just so much that could go wrong. It really becomes a liability for that seller. And that to me is totally priceless of the value that we're talking about here.
That son just wants to go back to his normal life. And not even rhetorically, in that son who called his case today, if he chooses not to go with your as-is offer, if he chooses to rehab it, he goes with those 5 contractors, who is going to pay those 5 contractors?
He is. Probably.
His own money, right?
Yep.
Is he going to get his brother and sister involved? Is he going to borrow money from them? I mean, it's bad after bad after bad. Like they just don't want to do any of this.
Right.
And the cost versus value guide, if you go on there, I'm just going to use St. Louis. It's about $24,000 to tear out a bathroom and put a new bathroom in. That was the cost for one bathroom. The value you got back on that $24,000 in real money that you spent is like $13,000.
These prices are astronomical. This is legitimate data.
Legitimate data for the past 20 years. It's funny to go back, like click on 2016, click on 2020, watch the prices creep up in your own market. Then the family never argues with me because I'm showing you this website that says, here's the data. And you know what's fun about that? All of us investors were like, 24 grand for a bathroom, I can do it for less. We're like, yeah, no, that's the point. That's right. The point, guys. I hope you can do it for less. If you're paying retail, you're not going to be in this business very long. We can do it for way less. And that's the exact point. I can show them on paper, hey, Fred, you can net the same amount with none of the work. What do you want to do?
Yeah. So clearly there's a ton of value with just partnering with somebody like you who has the team, the setup, the resources, et cetera, to make that a stress-free process for them. So how does your team look, Philip? Like, what's your setup like? How do you get in contact with these people? And like, how does that all work?
Sure. We are intertwined into the senior living sales process. So if me and you are brothers, we take mom into senior living today, we get trapped. I shouldn't say trapped. We get in their CRMs. We go look at 3 or 4 more. We get in their CRMs. We work with the industry to work with those families. So I contact them and say, hey, it sounds like you're trying to move into senior living. We actively go after that son that called you today.
So you have like the data, like yes, of those people.
Yeah. We've been doing this at a national level now for 3 years. And that's why I'm on your program today, is to tell the world, wow, hey, we need more help with this. We have these leads coming in. We work with people nationwide. This is not for everybody, Michael. The typical real estate investor, this is not for them. And what do I mean by that is most typical real estate investors are very transactional. They don't have any love in their heart. They don't even know what the word empathy means. If you don't know if you're empathetic, go home and ask your loved one if you're empathetic. They will tell you in 2 seconds. Most investors, I'm going to tell you the problem. Most investors, when you say, hey, I'm an investor, we love that investor word. I'm an investor. I mean, I say it too. I'm an investor. But the senior living world, all they hear is dun-dun, dun-dun. All they hear is shark.
Shark getting ready to attack, right?
That's all they hear. Because, by the way, investors are known to take advantage of people. Seniors are known to get taken advantage of, and I built a business around that. So it takes the right heart condition, love. If you can put people first, there's so many real estate deals right behind that. Because I teach you how to build relationships in the senior living world. When they know, like, and trust you, you fix a problem that they have every day in the senior living world. Because, okay, let me just break it. Let me keep going with the guy that called you today. He found a community his mom likes, right?
Yeah.
That community saying, how the heck are you going to pay for this, son? He's like, I don't know. I mean, I'll write the check for like a month, and then we got to figure this out, Mom. We need to sell. What do you have assets? Oh, you paid $48,000 for your house back in 1978. Now it's worth $350 retail. But of course, this is not a retail ready house, so we can get a couple $100,000 out of it. You know, the average stay in senior living, guys, is only 28 months. So if you take $6,000 times 28 months, I think it's a little bit under $200,000. That sale of that house is everything, Michael, because it allows mom to stay there to the end of her days. Remember I said, don't get old, and if you do, be rich. Being a private pay person is 100 times better than going into Medicaid. To be clear, everyone listening, Medicaid, if you end up on Medicaid, that means you live in a place you don't want to live. Private pay is like a arms race of nice, right? It's like a ski resort.
And they're probably not excited to see their parents go live in that, because they're probably maybe not going to receive the best care or whatever the case may be compared to the private.
Guilt is a huge thing. I've learned this too, guys. I don't care if you pay $12,000 a month. There's this weird saying in our business: the chandelier doesn't answer your mother's call button. And so, just because you spend more doesn't mean you're going to get better care. You got to be really diligent about who you work with, what advice you get. In my parking lot right here where I'm sitting right now in my office, there's 3 communities. One of them was $30 million. The other one was $50 million, and they're building a $70 million community. The $50 million community is sitting at 30% occupancy right now. So they're losing money hand over fist because they brought in new management. And this is a people business, right? And so the point is, this is a stressful time. That son, kill him with kindness, because he needs a hug, man.
That's a good point.
He's ready for something to go his way. And by the way, we talked about this earlier. Why does he want top dollar? It's because he's doing this weird kind of morbid death math with his mom. He's like, I need $400,000 for that, or whatever he said, right? I need that money because what happens if that money runs out?
Yeah. And so I told you that before this call, and you make such a good point. But I think for people who are listening to this, I don't care if it's somebody who's in this scenario that Phillip's talking about, or if it's any seller. Typically, who wouldn't want top dollar for their home, right? Everyone's going to want top dollar. So you really have to just kind of hear them, but you got to dig deeper, and you got to really let them know the value you're going to provide. Because if they're thinking you're just going to buy the house and you're not going to solve X, Y, and Z, versus the person like Phillip who has all of these ancillary things that he can provide that seller, who do you think they're going to go with?
Yeah.
Price doesn't even matter at that point. Yep. It's the peace of mind.
Yeah. We sold to you because we like you better is a line that I've heard a lot.
I like that. So that is just so cool, man, that you've worked your way to the point where you get access to those types of sellers at your disposal. So how does one go about that? Like, if I'm in Las Vegas, I own a home buying company in Nebraska, and we buy all over the state. But if I wanted to create those relationships in Las Vegas, how does that work?
Yeah, we have a certification program. It's really inexpensive. I think it's not even $500. It's under $500, and you get certified to learn all of this about your own market. So I teach you how to go out and do this in your own market. That is what I teach the world.
Is that what Mom's House teaches then?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, amazing. Yeah. So if anybody watching this wants to get access to the process and interweave themselves in that community, they could just hit you up and check out Mom's House and then learn how to do that.
Yeah, and it's just go to momshouse.com/VM. VM.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I want to. I mean, that's what I'm on here for. I want to find the right people that can work with us. I'm going to teach you my best kept secret on how do you go out and do this, but I'm looking for people that want to work with us on these incoming deals. And so this is a thing. I mean, you're a young man. I mean, this guy's, the numbers are so big. The next 15, 20 years, the boomers and their parents are going to be selling their houses. It's over $10 trillion in real estate that's going to change hands because they're going to need to sell those assets for care. This is huge.
Oh, it's massive. And so if by the way, guys, if you got some value from that, give us a like, let Phillip know. This is good stuff, guys. And I can't tell you over the years why it's taken this long to really realize. Like, I'm going to go check out this. So momshouse.com/VM, they can get access to your stuff.
The certification. Yeah.
Yep. So
you guys can use it on your socials. You can show the world that you've gone out and taken this serious. So we give you the tools of knowing who to talk to, what to say. I spend a ton of time on what not to say. It's not showing up as a real estate agent. It's not showing up as a real estate investor, even though you might be both of those things. Michael, I am both of those things, but that's not how you do it in senior living.
Yeah. So the difference is you're really leading with your heart versus you're not treating these people like just another transaction. And by the way, people know the difference. So there's a lot more psychology likely that goes into this, right?
Totally. You have to be known, liked, and trusted, both on the senior living side and the people you work with. Like that son that called you, man, he's going through a tough time. I always say that families that get along don't get along during this process. It is stressful.
Yeah, well, I've seen it all. I've seen a lot of situations, and I'm actually working through one that was past the point that we're talking about. It was a probate.
Yeah.
And it's to the point where the 50-50 owners that are related can't even come to an agreement, to the point where the house is in foreclosure. And now they don't even have a choice. Gosh. They're sitting on $150,000 of equity, and they can't even agree to what the estate was supposed to say and do. And so I'm just sitting over here like, guys, let me help you solve this problem. And if they don't, then who wins? The bank in this case. And that's just so sad.
They might end up with nothing if they don't do this right.
Yeah, I would agree. And so anyway, I dropped the link, guys, for you to check it out. It's momshouse.com/VM. And you can definitely go check out Phillip's stuff here. Phillip, what's next for you, man? I mean, what are you up to these days?
For us, I was just talking to somebody earlier. Like, I don't watch sports. I don't play video games. I love business development. I really do. And we've got this mission to help 10,000 daughter Judys a month. And when we started that goal 3 years ago, it was really small. I think we can get 30, 40, 50,000 daughter Judys. When I say daughter Judy, guys, that's the adult child who, by the way, might be 65 years old. In fact, a lot of times they are 65, helping their 85-year-old mother move into senior living. That's who I put first in every decision. Us investors, of course, we're looking for people that have equity and motivation and a house we can add value to and a warm transfer. These are the best leads. And of course, the industry wants it. We haven't talked about them yet. Senior living, guys, if you owned a multifamily building that was very, very expensive to run, and you knew your tenant would only live with you on average 28 months, then moving time on the front end, moving that in quicker is everything. And if I can move them in 60, 90 days earlier, you've just become 10% more profitable with the clients already in your client list, your leads list, right? Because the thing that's stopping them from moving in is not desire. It's they don't know what to do with their current house, or they've listened to the real estate agent and they've gone down the track or the path of doing that estate sale that didn't make what they thought, and cleaning up and rehabbing the house and spending that money and getting a high interest rate loan because they didn't have the money to do it, only to find out that wasn't a good investment either. We're taking all that risk away and we're giving them some assurance in a time when they're very uncertain.
Gotcha. I love it. So really it's a vision to help a certain amount of people in these scenarios to save them from the headaches and the brain damage that comes with maybe going the other route.
Totally. And it's not trendy or sexy what we do, guys. This is going to be here. The baby boomers, the oldest boomers, are starting to hit the senior living communities right now in 2023. So even though I've been doing senior living now for over 12 years, you're not behind. The boomers and the big, they call it the silver tsunami, is starting this year. And for the next 15 years, it's going to be growing and growing and growing and growing.
Look at that. It looks like you have a fan. So he said he's been watching your content for a couple of years.
Well, thank you,
Phillip.
other Philip with two L's as well. It's good to meet you.
I love that. No, that's fantastic. And
He said probate process. And by the way, Michael, you said probate too. A lot
yeah.
of my families, I don't call them leads or cases, a lot of my families, they end up being probate cases because they pass away in the whole journey. And guys, I want to tell you guys something right now. I love probate deals. Probate deals are great. They're my second favorite, though. Here's why. And you said it earlier. This will ring true with what you said earlier. When Philip and Michael are brothers and we're moving mom into senior living, we're not arguing over the money too much because we're not going to inherit that money. It's not our money. But with probate, remember you said earlier, there's 150 grand of profit sitting there, and they can't even get their head out of the sand to agree on anything. That's a fundamental difference that nobody's mad at Nana that she has to move into senior living. They're trying to make this easy so she can pay for it. With probate, everybody about what's in it for me. The sellers are, and that's a huge difference. So
greed comes in. It
totally
gets really messy.
Human nature, man. Greed is real. When they're moving into senior living, it's the only time I've ever seen them be kind of like, I won't say they don't care what they sell the house for. They do. It's not the same as if what's in it for me.
Right. And it's crazy to me. It seems like so many people do, like, in that position, just don't take the time to set up the proper documentation when it does reach to the point of, unfortunately, there's a passing in the family. So, like, people should probably take the time to set that stuff up, right? Because it saves a lot of headaches down the road. Like, if you have a will, it doesn't really do anything for these people, right?
Totally. Adult children, people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, helping their parents in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, when they lose their parent and their parent didn't do it the right way, that's when they get serious about their own setting up trust and doing their, because they don't want to put that burden on their children.
But it can save like, even as like a, somebody like myself, right? My parents are in their 50s. They're not that old, but what if we're proactively educating them on here, why this is the importance of it? Because it's going to cost you a lot more money and a lot more money for the whole family if we don't set this up correctly now versus if we wait and something happens, because, we're all going to retire, quote unquote, eventually someday, right? So we can save ourselves that brain damage.
Totally. And I think the younger generations are getting smarter at that. The older generations thought it was morbid to talk about anything with death. And I think you have to. One of my favorite lines is, whatever state you live in, tell the adult senior who doesn't want to do any preparation, say, do you love your kids more than you love the state of wherever you live? Because if you don't, the state's going to take that money. Why would you give the money to the state of Missouri when you can give it to your kids if you plan correctly? It's like planting a tree. When's the best time to plant a tree? It's 20 years ago or today, right?
Yeah.
So that's the same way with estate planning. You want to start it today, no matter what your age is.
100%. And man, I feel good hearing this, because I just took care of this for me and my family. I have a couple kids, and feel like I'm ahead of the game a little bit. But St. Louis is your market, right, Phillip? So, and you do this nationwide.
We do it nationwide, my local market. I'm still an active real estate investor. I've been doing this for 25 years now, and I always say, if you have a better lead source than what I'm talking about, bring it to me, because I want to do it here in my own market. Right. Like I'm 25 years in, but I'm still learning. I always want to be learning. I never want to stop learning. Things always change. We used to spend 20 grand a year on the yellow book, and now we don't spend anything, right? Things change, guys. And so what I love about this is it's going to be constant for the next 15 years. It's only going to get bigger and bigger. It might be bold to say it, but I want to say it. Either take this seriously, or you'll be buying houses from people that did.
Wow. That's real. That's real right there, guys. And if you're like me and you're a direct to seller marketer, you guys know how much money a lot of us investors who do volume spend on marketing. Yeah. It excites me to think that I could find a lead source that is changing maybe the amount of money I spend to maybe a little bit more effort as far as relationship building, and save hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing every year. That excites me. And it should excite you too if you're listening.
I don't know the lifetime value of my relationships yet, because I'm still doing deals with people that I met in 2011 when I started this.
Crazy. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's like an oil well that keeps pumping.
Right. Okay, so you're an active real estate investor. How are you dispositioning properties when you have a lead, say, in Las Vegas? Like, what do you do with that?
I'm trying to find somebody in Las Vegas that goes through my program that wants to work that lead.
All right. Well, I don't think we need to talk to anybody else. I think I'm the guy for the
Yeah.
job, and I'll definitely be letting you know how we operate too. That way we can see if we're a good fit.
Yeah, and let me just tell everybody, because I love it when people have that. They like, I want to work these. Great. In St. Louis, guys, I've been doing this for over 12 years. I have relationships with probably 10 communities here out of 300. And St. Louis is a mid-sized market. It's not a huge market. It's a mid-sized market. I've scratched the surface 10 communities out of 300 from the guy that started the whole thing, right? And so when people say, I want the whole state of Utah, I'm like, well, hold on, buddy, pump the brakes. Like, it's kind of like saying that you want to be the only real estate agent in all of Las Vegas. And I appreciate that, what you said, but that's how big this is. There's that much opportunity.
I'm at my home office. I was just at my office, and I was telling my business partner about our interview today, and I'm like, man, there is a huge opportunity here that we have completely missed for the last 4 years. We've known that we buy a lot of houses from these scenarios, but we just never really took the initiative to laser focus on it. And my office is right next to a senior living center. I'm like, I wonder what I'm going to do one of these days is probably go introduce myself, right, to this senior center.
One of the first things I teach you is don't walk in the front door with your hand out.
So I should bring cookies then.
No. Oh, I love it. I love it, because that's what people think. Guess what they do with your cookies?
They throw them in the trash.
They have to throw them in the trash.
You know what? I actually used to work at a, it was called a greenhouse, but it was essentially a place that elders went and lived, and it was a house for 12 people. And I actually was the cook. I served these elderly the food and the meals, and I just remember that type of stuff. Like, people would come try to solicit, and it's not easy to get in the door by doing those types of things.
I don't teach you to walk in the front door, guys, and I don't teach you to cold call.
Yeah. Phillip says, hey, all right, I'm going to post this one up here because, man, look at that. You take Vegas, I'll take Omaha and Lincoln.
That's awesome.
We got it. All right.
Hey, guys, this only works for people get old. So if you live in a town where people are getting older, then it'll work.
Well, good news is a lot of people are getting old these days. So there's plenty of opportunity. But anyway, Phillip, it's been awesome, man. If you got value from today's episode, please check out momshouse.com/thevm. Take advantage of Phillip's offer because he is changing the game in this space. Like this, share it, tell a friend. Phillip, any last words, man, you'd like to leave listeners with?
Yeah, there's a big shortage of things that are awesome in this world right now. And helping people and doing real estate in a fulfilling way. I don't hear the word fulfillment very often in our business. A good example is like when you go to a local real estate meetup, everybody's like showing the size of their check, or they're on Facebook in front of their big cars. I've never seen anyone's check in senior living yet. They've never shown me their check. It's like a real estate thing. And that mindset is very different than how senior living is. They are care first, and they don't mind you make money. They're making money too. It's just, can you lead with care? Can you lead with love? And if that resonates with you, then this could be perfect for you.
Yeah, it's so true. I love it, man. Where can people learn more about you, man?
momshouse.com/VM. I want to tell you guys all about it. We have that certification program. We are so confident in the certification program that if you don't feel like you got 10 times your money's worth, I'll give you your $497 back. Because that's how confident. I only want people that want to be in the program anyway, Michael. You know, every investor should want to be part of this.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Well, I mean, guys, check it out. I know I'm going to take advantage of this. And $497, come on now. That's a steal.
It's nothing. Rounding error.
It really is. All right, man. Well, great talking to you, Phillip. And thanks for listening, guys. Until next time, have a good one and take care. See you later.
All right, guys. Thank you for having me.